Welcome to Sports Medicine on Tap. My name is Brandon O'Line. I'm sitting at Neck of the Woods Brewing Company with my good friend Dr. Frey on a beautiful Tuesday evening as always. Dr. Frey, how you doing?
Spectacular. It's not 0 degrees.
It's not 0 degrees out and the snow is finally starting to melt.
Yeah.
With more snow on the horizon. It just doesn't end. But special evening in a sense.
Yeah.
We have a special guest who isn't here yet,
Not
if
yet.
you will. Our good friend Kyle, our producer, is here, but he couldn't help himself and get behind the scenes and work all our stuff for us. So he's here. He will jump on at some point tonight and give a little snapshot of some things that he's working on as well, which is super exciting to hear about.
Very cool. A little documentary.
A little documentary in the works that we will touch on here shortly. But last time we were on, we talked Olympics.
Yeah.
We talked.
It's a hot topic, man.
The hottest topic, right now. We talked. The biggest story, would be Lindsey Vonn.
Of course.
And I just saw an update and a very interesting video online on social media today that she is now home in the U.S.
Welcome home.
Welcome home, Lindsey Vonn. If you want to, anyone listening, you don't follow Lindsey Vonn on social media, I follow her on Instagram. Take a look. Very interesting video of her transport to the U.S. from Italy. It was like ambulance, plane, ambulance, back to another hospital.
Right.
So she's back in the hospital now on U.S. soil with more surgeries on the horizon.
Yeah. So, and the pictures that she had released right after we had recorded, last week. Right there, she's got this big frame on her leg that's called an X-Fix, an external fixator. And it's there are pins that kind of go through your skin and through the soft tissues and into the bone. And you have this almost erectus type frame holding everything in place. And I thought I saw maybe a little bit of a wound vac somewhere down there, which is a good way to cover a wound or an open wound.
Right.
And pull some of the fluid out if you're worried about infection or compartment syndrome or some of the things we had talked about as possibilities. Right. And again, we don't have access to a medical records. We don't know exactly what happened and what the surgeries have been for, but it does seem somewhat in line with some of the things that we had talked about. We were speculating it could be.
Again, like you said, we don't have actual records, but even just per what she said publicly, she's like, yep, I have a lot of surgeries to go.
Yeah.
My leg is still not healed or in place for the most part.
Right.
So she was traveling and she still had some stuff like the X-Fix on her while traveling and all that stuff, which is just a crazy thing to think about.
Right.
I watched a video and I just sent it to my coworkers. I was like, I can't imagine the logistics behind making this happen for something. And I get nervous when I travel with certain teams for that exact reason. If something crazy were to happen,
what then?
What do you do when that person's trying to get home? There's travel involved, especially when there's planes involved. It's just so much moving pieces, literally. But we hope that it goes well and she's going to be able to make a good recovery.
Right.
I don't know how much a comeback is in her future, but I mean,
you wanted to have normal functioning leg, without pain all the time. And hey, if you can make a comeback, phenomenal. But I'm not sure that's the target at this point.
Correct. Yeah. So a couple more fun, stories about the Olympics, like we mentioned a little bit pre-show, is that the U.S. monobob, I guess they're called pilots or, riders or for the bobsled, if you will.
Yeah.
U.S. took 2 medals home, gold and bronze. Both women over the age of 40. Amazing stories.
Children.
Right. Elena Taylor and Kaylee Humphreys both took, Elena took gold and Kaylee took bronze.
Right.
But, just an amazing story of these, if you will, older athletes doing well in their respective sports and just, crushing it and doing so good.
Pretty extraordinary.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Yeah.
And Elena Taylor has two children, special needs. They're both deaf. And they made the exception where the kids have gone on tour with them and and then it is sort of mind blowing that first and third again, I don't know, I don't get it. Incredible, love it, wonderful, an incredible story, and great story of dedication and fortitude and sticking with it and all this other stuff, perseverance, right? Because it's not like they're new to the sport. They've been at it for a while and they're both decorated through the years, but then to break through and in your 40s
Yeah.
in a field full of everybody, people in their 20s.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And that's, I think that, and I think it's just a rare thing for the normal sports fan, if you will, to see someone of the age of 40 do something miraculous. Like, yeah, we saw Tom Brady play into his 40s.
Yeah.
LeBron's in his 40s playing.
Yeah.
But, our pro sports our athletes that we look up to, they're mid 30s. Like, oh, they're tapping out soon.
They're almost done.
And then we have these Olympic athletes who are, peaking right now, literally at the top of the top, at the best of their game at over the age of 40 or whatever the case is. And like we mentioned before in the previous episode, there's like a 50-year-old Australian snowboarder who was out there. I think the U.S. curling had one of the oldest athletes in the Olympic Games play for curling. I think the gentleman was the age of 54, and I think it was one of those early round robin situations where they weren't doing so great, so they subbed him in just to, he got his playing time, if you will, and sure enough, he kind of was the oldest person to do it, which is crazy.
Right. I remember, and I'm probably going to butcher the details of this particular story, but I remember in Beijing, my kids and I were all blown away. First, we're always like surprised by biathlon as
it's so crazy.
It is, and like it's these two things that don't seem to me. I'm gonna go cross country ski, then lay down and shoot, and then go cross country. Like how did that become a sport? And I'm like when you see them though, like they have all of this gear, scopes and this and everything to hold everything straight. And I imagine they lay down to take their shots, and like everything is shaking because they're tired. And I'm pretty sure it was in Beijing. There was one dude who was like, I think it was in like Turkey or something, and basically he's like. He's like out there with like sweats, like doing his skiing, and then like he lays down and he's got like a rifle from home, like nothing else. Like it's just straightforward, just it doesn't have like the high power thing. And he was just like dum 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 right on through, and he's off. And like
and kept going,
it's really cool to see. Yeah. Sometimes these people are just sort of buck the trend.
Yeah, and just a different style of athlete, really.
Yeah.
Like some people get all the high crazy gear, and there's like that old school, like, nah, give me the rusty bar and I'll just make it work and go for it.
Right, exactly. Chloe Kim.
Yeah, Chloe Kim, also performed, and like we mentioned her in the last episode. Unfortunately, she took unfortunately. She didn't get the gold. Like everyone, everyone thought she was going to.
Yeah.
But she still medaled. She got silver.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like one of those ironic situations, right? I'm pretty sure the woman who took gold was a young 17 or 18-year-old snowboarder, who I think they even know each other, who came out and kind of shocked the half pipe, if you will.
I think she's Korea, I think.
I can
maybe Japan.
I will double check that too. But same idea, just like Chloe Kim did, about 8 years ago. She took the field by storm, and oh my God, look at this young one doing it, and sure enough, same idea. And I watched the runs for the gold medal, and the girl was on point, man.
Amazing.
And it's just. Yeah, it's interesting. It doesn't look that crazy from a standpoint, but no, they're like spinning 8.5 times in the air. They're going, just easily 20-some feet off the half pipe, like midair, and they land it so smoothly. It's just like butter. Like doesn't look like anything's wrong with it.
I feel like almost every sport in the Winter Olympics, more so than in the Summer Olympics, It's either like kind of cool, standing around, hanging around, curling, or your life's in danger at every minute. like one or the other. It's total extreme.
Yeah, it's very much an extremist of like, everything's all good, no big issue, but then you add ice and high speeds, and then you have these crazy, pretty catastrophic
ice skates flying by your neck and all this craziness.
And even I think this year, there was mandatory cut guards for all hockey players in the Olympic Games, which is also pretty interesting. And then as if we've never seen it before, but our women's USA hockey is going against Canada for gold, which has been
tonight, right?
Is it tonight or
we're recording on Tuesday. I thought it was tonight or today. I go media blackout all the time. Like I don't want to know the results till I get home. But maybe it is tomorrow. And did you see also? Now that it's not U.S., but like incredible story. The Italian skier, who's also not the youngest athlete out there. I think maybe 35 or 36, and ACL, and I think also tibial plateau fracture. So maybe not unlike Lindsey Vonn. And injury was a year ago.
Yes.
She started her first time skiing back 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
2 golds.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
How
does this happen?
And I'm if I'm not mistaken, I think she's also good friends with Lindsey Vonn, and I think they've been connected since the injury and everything else. But yeah, that's just wild that someone can do such an amazing feat in such short time, and they just have that ability to like bounce back like that and pull it off. And not, I mean, I think it's a safe thing to say that it's generally impressive that if you make it to the Olympics after such a story.
Yeah.
But man, is it way more impressive when you hit the podium after such a story and it's nationally televised and the whole deal.
Yeah. And especially if it's been only 3 weeks since you first got back on the mat. You're like, how? Just how?
Right.
Even like Chloe Kim, like this point she didn't get gold, but like she came away with silver and she hasn't snowboarded in a month. Whatever it is, like and I guess on that level they're so good that like they can still do it without doing it for a month. But everybody gets a little bit rusty, just a tiny bit if you don't do it for a little while. Like, I don't know. It's next level.
And I think that could be the argument of why she may have not gotten gold.
Yeah, could be it. That could have been the difference.
In that sport too, it's just a margin of error is so slim that you have to land the trick at the perfect time, do the perfect thing, and make sure it works out, or you're going to lose points by the judges or whatever the case is, and you're not going to get the medal or you're not going to make the podium kind of deal.
Always suspicious some of the judging that happens. I hate to say it.
Well, I think that's the hard part too is like those sports that are judged, and there's a number based off human opinion, if you will. Yeah. And there could be a somewhat bias or margin of error is like judged differently or whatever the case is, and then it changes the outcomes. And I think that was I think there's a judge in question or is getting some scrutiny for figure skating that they've had some.
The ice dancing, I think it was.
They've had some questionable scores in the past, and then, they may have had a score this time that made the outcomes a little different. It is what it is in that regard. But I did look it up, and the gold medal game for the women's ice hockey is Thursday at 1:00.
Like
PM
I said,
Eastern. So not today.
Totally blew it.
Either way, by the time this show's out for everybody, it'll be kind of over, and hopefully USA is hoisting the gold medal on that one.
Right.
So we'll see what that happens. But I mean, USA women's hockey has been crushing it.
Amazing. Yeah.
So good.
Men's too.
Yeah.
Lighting it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very exciting.
I think it's pretty interesting, and I also didn't realize that it's been since 2014 since NHL players have played in the Olympics.
Put them back. I love it.
Keep them in there. Like pretty interesting. I think I watched. I forget who it was. I think I watched one of the men's Canada games and seeing all those guys, and I was just like, how is Sidney Crosby still playing at this rate?
Dude's amazing.
So
I know.
It's just crazy that he's
Ovechkin as well, right? Neither one of them were kids, and
no.
Ovechkin's playing at a higher level, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
I mean,
just a seasoned vet, and I mean the guy just the more gray he gets, the better he gets. I don't know how that works. But
me neither. Yeah. And then, we had one or two injuries that we were potentially talking about tonight. A little miscommunication. We didn't get to go down the road, but then we're going off the Olympics topic.
Olympics topic, yeah. But I think it sparks a good conversation. We're going to shift gears here, if you will, to the NBA. And Jaren Jackson Jr. recently was traded from the. He was traded from the Grizzlies to the Utah Jazz back in the beginning of this month on the 3rd, about 2 weeks ago. And then the interesting scenario, right? Like we've talked about it briefly before, like when a trade happens or a free agency pickup happens, there goes this pre-participation physical that happens. And with that, they picked up some things. I guess he had an MRI on his knee that had some findings that the Utah physician group or their medical team says that he needs to get removed and kind of get surgery. So then it came out that I think he played about 3 or 4 games with the Jazz after the trade.
Yeah.
And then it's like, Jaren Jackson's done for the year. He's going to get surgery on his knee.
Yeah.
For PVNS.
PVNS. Yeah.
If you don't mind, I think this is something that you might know. At first, when I sent you the article, I was like, hey, I don't know what this is. What should we talk about it?
It is. It's one of those very, very strange ones, which we like to go down the road, right? Like we hit a lot of the main topics sort of over and over again, and every now and again we get one of these weird ones, these left of center, where it's like it's cool to talk about because it's different, and so PVNS is not really. It's exactly a sports-related injury, but it stands for Pigmented Villonodular Synovitis.
Yeah.
There's also considered like giant cell tumor, and the phrase that goes along with PVNS is that it is benign but locally aggressive.
Right.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
So it is actually technically a tumor. It's like unusual growth, and we're not 100% sure why it happens.
Right.
I think overuse is sort of considered maybe the reason, but there's probably a genetic component to it and whatnot. And that statement where it's benign, it doesn't really metastasize or go anywhere else in your body, but locally aggressive is a very valid statement. It'll destroy a joint over time. And there are some versions of it that are a little more aggressive, and there are some versions of it that are a little less aggressive. But it'll lead to, destruction of the joint. And you have a professional basketball player, and you're playing with fire a little bit. If you let it go, like how far can you let it go? How long can you just leave it be before you want to do something about it? Because it's the type of thing where it messes with your cartilage, and then it could eventually cause some underlying subchondral or bony issues, and that's the end of your basketball career if it goes down that road.
Right.
But it doesn't happen fast, right? It's a slow moving process. And when we do sports physicals, typically we're not MRIing every part of the body. It's just not part of a standard sports physical. There's certain things that we're checking for, and it's really health of the athlete that we're really worried about. In that scenario, you're in the NBA, and it's also investment of the club.
Right.
They want to make sure his knees look good. They want to make sure that his ACL is intact. So they do all these extra studies that really aren't part of a normal.
Yeah. And I think, I didn't really look too deep into the Jaren Jackson history part of this.
Yeah.
But it seems like back in August of 2020, in the year of the bubble, he did have a torn meniscus in his left knee and required surgery that caused him to miss significant time in the 2020-2021 season. So I think that makes sense in that when you get a new player, you have this previous history of a surgery, you do get an MRI.
Even more so, right?
Even more so where it makes sense. And again, for those folks who've been around it and listened to our Super Bowl preview with Gino Grakowski, he was also mentioning that, in his time going back to different teams, he had different injuries.
Awesome.
Yeah, he had different injuries, and he had to deal with that when he signed on with teams, and they had waivers that had to sign for each team or whatever the case was. I think this is just one of those things where, that was about 6 years ago now. That he's had this torn meniscus injury. And it says on here, this is just a quick Google search on his injury history too, is that he missed various times with between the 2021 and 2024 seasons with just, some left knee soreness, some foot injuries, some calf issues. So he's had various things happen to him over that time. But again, I think this is something that I don't think the Grizzlies per se knew about.
Right.
Nor were they just MRI. They're not MRIing their athletes' knees every couple weeks just to see what's going on.
Randomly, yeah.
So I would imagine, I think it's almost safe to say that he probably hasn't had an MRI on his knee since 2020, so 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And then they find something that's changed in the past 6 years.
Yeah.
Right? So from 6 years ago to now, something's grown.
Right.
Like you said, that these things can kind of grow and become problematic.
Yeah. So essentially, before I go down that road, right? The other interesting part here is that he said his knee doesn't hurt, feels fine. Doesn't feel like he has any issues in there right now. The question becomes do you need to do anything, or can you leave it? And I think the answer in this particular situation is no, you can't just leave it. You do need to do something, and it's just a matter of timing. So when we do an MRI, sometimes the synovium, which is the lining of the joint, will look very thickened or inflamed. And in this particular scenario, sometimes it looks almost like a fern. We call it frondular, the way that it looks. And that is somewhat indicative of this particular issue, PVNS. Now, typically, it affects one joint. There are some rare occasions where usually it's monoarticular. There's some where it's what we call polyarticular. Usually in a younger population, if it goes that way. But almost every time it's one joint. And it's just a matter of addressing it. Now, the problem, how do you address it? You do it exactly what Jaren Jackson's going to get.
Right.
You go, you scope it, and you clean it out. Sometimes it's local in one compartment or one area in the joint. The knee is the most common. And sometimes it's spread kind of throughout the joint. When it escapes the joint, and sometimes it will, then it's a little tougher to sort of reel in and get under control. There are reports of people will have it in their wrist, and it can kind of climb along your tendons and then wind up in another joint, in your fingers. But that's not spreading through your blood to a different part of your body. That's local progression. But it's a little bit harder to get under control. And the big issue with PVNS is that it tends to come back.
Yeah.
You go in, you clean it out, you scope it out, you feel like you're done, and then 3 years later, people start having symptoms of it again. You start doing a workup, and you see it starting to creep back in, and then you got to go back in, you do it again. And in my own experience, this is actually not science oriented. My own experience is that there's a little bit of a diminishing returns. Like you go back and scope it again a second time or a third time, and all of a sudden now they're better for 3 months instead of being better for 3 years or 6 months. And there are some medications that you can take for it, and eventually, presumably, if you're a little further along, this typically happens to people between the age of 20 and 50. So, if you're a little further along in life, eventually, if it does beat up the joint, you wind up getting a joint replacement.
Right.
And it's just I don't know what it is about the condition that beats up the joint, whether it's a blood supply thing going to it, or whether it's just space occupying lesion, like it's just taking up space in there and beating up the cartilage and rubbing things away. But it does eventually degenerate or degrade the joint. So that's the whole thing, where it's not a tumor in the sense that like it's dangerous, it'll go somewhere, you can die from this. It doesn't have that, but it is pretty destructive locally.
Right.
And again, if you're an NBA basketball player, that's the last thing you want hanging around.
Right. You don't want to have knees like our good friend and Joel Embiid, if you will.
That's right.
But it's also interesting because, like we mentioned before, like the age of athletes, right? Jaren Jackson Jr. is the age of 26 right now. He's 6 years in the NBA, which is crazy that he's.
I thought he was further along, but okay, I'll take it.
I mean, he's been in the league for 6 years already. Also, he's from Plainfield, New Jersey, so a New Jersey native.
Yeah,
if
baby.
You will.
Yeah.
Fun fact for you. But I think again, in the world of the business of sport, right? For the Utah Jazz, they just made this trade for him. They want him to be successful down the stretch and go farther.
He's a good player.
I think it makes sense that they did this. However, there's a lot of speculation with this, trades and surgeries and out for the year of like the big talk about the NBA right now is how the trend of tanking is kind of ruining the sport. And that they're kind of getting accused a little bit of tanking now because they just made this big trade for this person. And now they're just going to shut him down for the rest of the year and see what happens.
Yeah. I don't know that you can. I mean, Could he? Let's say he's still on an NBA team that is contending. Could he finish out the season? Probably. I don't know how far along it is, but if he is truly asymptomatic at this point, you would think he would be able to do that. I understand the argument about the whole tanking thing. I also understand the argument on the other side where you want to give him every chance to recover so he's back for next season, which by every stretch of the imagination he should be. Like this should be over and done and dealt with. Is it going to be a problem again in a few years? Maybe. Yeah. But at least for next season, like he should be back full strength, full running, without deficits. There are medications that people can take also. Like Remicade is actually an off-label one, and there's a few different, one or two that are actually indicated for this, but they're pretty heavy-duty medications.
Right.
And then there's even like they'll inject sometimes, and this goes sort of past the sports medicine portion of the degree. Like as a sports medicine doc, we're not treating this. I actually send it usually to some of the. For me, I send it to some of the docs over at Cooper. Actually, they have ortho-oncology at Cooper, and even though it is again, it's benign, it's low progressive. I'll usually clean it up. If it does come back or if it's a problem, I'll send it over to them, and they're wonderful about taking care of it. But so there are some pretty heavy duty medications that can be on. Again, I don't think it's something that he should be on if he's in the NBA. Right?
Yeah, and I think again, this is a bit off of the Olympic track, if you will, because we've been talking about that, and I haven't personally been paying too much attention to the NBA, but the Utah Jazz are sitting 13th. Place in the Western Conference here at an 18 wins and 38 loss record. So
right on the cusp.
So I mean, it makes sense to not waste a young talent and potentially put him at risk for more things. And, again, they made a trade for him. They want a good ROI here and make the return on investment really well. So fix him up and get him really healthy. And if this year's not looking so hot, move on, get everything ready for next year to make a big push.
Take care of it. Get the highest draft pick, most lottery balls they can get.
Right.
I think at least for the short term, this will not impact his career. You do worry about the team that gets him in his 30s. Is that going to be a problem for him?
Yeah, so it's curious to see how long the Utah Jazz will hold on to him. And I think it's interesting that it's kind of it all unfolded, and it's just like one of those weird things. At least this was one of those headlines where, when I saw it, I was like, "Wait a minute, he just got traded. Why would they trade someone who needs knee surgery right away? That
Yeah.
and then suddenly now he's out for the rest of the year type deal."
Yeah. It's one of those things where they didn't know about it. And I wonder what the recourse is. Like, if they truly didn't know about it, like, is there recourse for Utah, for the Jazz at that particular point?
Like, is there, I don't know what the...
Passing the physical.
Yeah, passing the physical, there's always a problem. Because I think that's been a problem before of, like, I forget where or who it was, but I think there was a trade canceled based off a failed physical, and then they never came to fruition.
Yeah.
And something happened along those lines. But it's interesting. So I guess, again, this is from me just not really knowing it. Do you think it's related because he's had his history already of a meniscus surgery? And is that like a common track, or is it just
I don't
luck
think
of the
so.
draw?
Luck of the draw. I don't think so. I think it's just random that he had that particular injury and now he has this particular condition. I mean, it's most of the time it is in when people get it, it's in their knees. I've seen it in shoulders. It can also happen in hips, and it can happen in ankles. And I think pretty much any joint, but far and away, I think knee is the most common. It's just random luck, bad luck.
Yeah, and I think it's just one of those things where, again, random luck, right? Like, had he not had this surgery on his left knee, he probably wouldn't have gotten this MRI on his knee.
I don't know if it's standard. I wonder if they it's NBA. Like, I wonder if they MRI everybody's knees, both of their knees during the trade. I don't know.
I don't know.
Or if it's because he had a previous injury, like you said. I'm not sure what the standard is.
Yeah. So, and then again, it's just one of those things that's part of the reason why these things exist, right?
Yeah.
To catch all these little nuances that you, like, again, he's 26 years old, but he's playing fine, doing really well. I think this year he averaged 19 points, 4.7 rebounds, 2 assists, and 1.4 blocks.
Yeah.
Doing pretty good.
Doing good play. Yeah.
And he's got something wrong with his knee, and then he has to get surgery for it. So it's
Yeah.
a bit out of the norm of kind of what we see, but very much makes sense. And then I think it was reported that he had surgery today.
Oh, yeah.
So it's now done, over with, and now he's going to be on his road to back. So what's this return timeline look? I mean, I think early reports said he's going to be done for the year.
I think he's done for the year. Yeah. But how much? It depends how much time is left in the season, right? Like if he was again on a playoff contending team, honestly, I don't know that he would be done for the season. I think he can bounce back and still play this year. I do think you deal with a little more swelling after this particular surgery than you do some of the other knee scopes. But again, it's not like ACL or meniscus repair or something where like you're waiting for a structure to heal. You're just cleaning it out, and it's just a matter of recovering from that. I would say in this scenario where we're getting to the I guess the All-Star break wasn't all that long ago.
Right.
Really, we're right there, right? Like
it pretty much just happened.
We're right in it, yeah. So there's probably a little less than half the season left. If they had a lot riding on it, maybe he can come back this year.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot riding it, so they're probably going to say, "Hey, we'll see you next year."
Right.
Yeah, but I would typically think more along the lines of like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe 8 weeks, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Less if they needed him.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that. And I mean, it'll be interesting and more or less. Again, the trade happened this year, but I don't think you'll see the ripple effect of it, and the outcomes of it would be something that you watch for the Utah Jazz for next year for sure.
Yeah. Lottery picks.
Right.
But yeah. So all right, let's bring in Kyle. Well, Kyle does Timber Reel Productions. We mention him every single time. Wonderful work for us editing, overseeing a heck of a lot of stuff.
Yep.
And got really interesting project to talk about a little bit. And not often here. We don't get to see you very often.
I know, not very often.
Welcome. And I think this is the first time you're getting behind the mic, isn't it?
Second.
Oh man, I'm sorry, Kyle. I blew it.
This is actually the first time I've met Brandon.
Which is
4 years later.
Right.
I think we're almost at least 70 plus episodes in, and I've talked to Kyle via phone call, email, and text. But tonight he walked in with a camera. And I was like, I guess that's Kyle.
That's a guy.
That's got to be my guy,
it's
right?
It's great to finally be here. I mean, I don't get to be on set most of the time for producing a show, so it's really fun to see everything behind the scenes and be here with you guys as we're doing it.
I mean, and you're the one who really got us up and running, right? Like
I tried.
how to do it. What's that?
I tried.
You tried, yeah. But no, legit. Like yeah. So I mean, it's just yeah, awesome. Yeah, welcome.
If anything, the glue that keeps the show together, it's Kyle. So
for sure, without
welcome,
question.
officially welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. And it just worked out that you were in the area, and we kind of made this work. So I'm glad, like you said, I'm glad we got to finally meet because it's been very much a digital relationship, if you will.
Yeah.
Good old pen pals. But yeah.
So I'm pretty excited to hear about this project you've been working on for the last 4.5 years.
So I am finally releasing a documentary about trail development and the effects of trails on habitat fragmentation, centralized in Central Oregon. So
Right.
I've been partnering with the National Forest Service with another videographer based in Philadelphia, and we've been working on it for 4.5 years, and it's finally coming out next month.
And you used to live in Oregon.
I did, yeah. I was in Portland for 2.5 years prior to coming back east. It's been about 1.5 to 2 years of post-production and animation, and it's an hour-long documentary. I didn't think it would take this long to finally produce, but
Sure.
it's really fun, and it's a national problem that is happening where I'm an outdoor person.
Yeah.
People who hike, who use horses on the land, who trail run, who mountain bike, everybody who uses trails, the idea is that we all have an effect on the habitat out there and the animals that actually live in that habitat and migrate. So as these trails are being put in, and the more people who want to recreate on national forests, the demand for trails increase. So how does that affect migratory patterns of animals and reduce, and basically fragment their habitat so they can't use it anymore? So it's a really, it's a national issue that it's not just happening in Oregon, it's happening in Pennsylvania, it's happening in New York, it's happening everywhere in this country because people love going outside. So we're just trying to bring awareness to what this problem is and kind of take it from the forefront of, if we can get ahead of it, then we can all really enjoy seeing deer, seeing elk, seeing all these different animals that we all go out and, want to see when we're hiking.
That's one of the big selling points of going out and doing that stuff, right? Like, you know what I mean? And but then that is a little bit of a conflict, right? Like if you're in doing that, or if you're creating issues, like
our biggest goal with the entire thing is to just bring awareness of the effects that hiking and recreation have that we might not think of.
Right.
Yeah, because I think, generally speaking, at least my brain is like, oh yeah, you're just walking around in nature, not doing anything. But it's like, no, there's always a reaction and counter reaction. So there's always something that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Based on what you're doing out there. So that makes sense.
Yeah. The best part is learning. I think I learned so much that I didn't even think about when I was doing it, because I'm a regular person. I'm not a biologist. I'm not anybody that has this education around like nature. So I learned throughout the entire process. And I feel like when I'm doing anything that has, even producing the podcast, it's like I get to learn all the time in what I do. So it's really fun to, be able to create something that's hopefully can have an effect here.
So in terms of the animation, just getting into the sort of nuts and bolts of it all, is it like drawn animation, or is it renderings, or like what?
It's like rendering stuff. So it's like a lot of maps, and like we've gotten maps from research that we've animated, and we've like built stuff, and we've worked with specific animators that are able to bring that stuff to life. We kind of like concept that idea and make it like, have open conversation with them to bring everything to really showcase what we're trying to do. There's not a lot of animation. Most of it is actually footage that we've captured that we've, brought in from trail cams that we connected with people on, and
that's pretty cool. Really, tapping into the trail cams.
It was total about like 45 to 50 days of filming. We were out in the woods and just like finding deer, finding elk herds. We found a badger that was pretty dangerous, but it was cool. But I have this footage of these animals that it's just out in the middle of nowhere, and it's beautiful out that way.
Right.
Yeah.
And did you chose to work with a guy that's from the Philly area? You yourself are from the Philly area,
Correct.
right? Like right down the road, Woodbury. Yeah. And then did you do the filming or you chose to do the post production, obviously, when you were living upstate New York, but Did you do the filming when you were there, or did you go back for 50 days or whatever it is?
Most of it was when I was there.
Yeah.
So it started during COVID. We went 2 trips back when we were here. So it was most of it was done before I even moved, and then the post production side of it just took so long because we're trying to go through 15 to 20 hours of interview footage plus all this other footage and just putting the story together to make sure it's like neutral.
Right.
So that way,
Well said.
More people can enjoy it, and it's not fully biased on any way. So it's just more about spreading information and educating people that, while also showcasing some pretty interesting and beautiful footage.
That's pretty cool, and it's all out in Oregon.
Yeah.
And I know you said, well, tell us a little bit about how you're premiering it, kind of getting it out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So our premiere is in Bend next month, March 10th.
Right.
It's at a theater out that way. We've been partnering with a nonprofit or a handful of nonprofits to kind of put this thing together. And
it's a perfect area.
It's beautiful. Love it. If you have never been there, you should.
Right.
But we're working with these nonprofits and kind of reaching out to the community to bring them into it, because that's where it's centralized. These people are using the forest, using the the areas we filmed in, and it's growing ever since I've left, and I can't imagine how much more it's going to grow.
Right.
So that premiere is happening March 10th, and then being from the area, both myself and the other cinematographer, we decided we want to have a premiere and a screening somewhere in Philadelphia. So, partnering with, once again, another nonprofit, finding a good place to screen it that's really like film centric, and get it out to the people of this area, because it's a big problem everywhere in the country. So, by showcasing it, even though it's focused in Central Oregon, I think it'd be really interesting to showcase what 2 filmmakers in Philadelphia have done in this area to really outreach into the conservation world.
Sure. Is there a plan, or is it a bit soon? If somebody's listening to this and like, it sounds pretty cool. I want to be able to take a look at this thing.
Our goal is to get it out to people, so it'll be available whether it's YouTube or Vimeo. We'd love to get it somewhere on screening. So working with like local PBS stations and figuring out if they're interested in licensing it, or just having it and putting it out there, or outdoor TV channels to outreach to these audiences that are interested in this subject. And anybody who was really trying to understand what their impact on the outdoors is who we're trying to reach. Right.
There's a whole I'm sure it's probably out there. There's a whole nother department we haven't covered, like wilderness medicine, like the whole.
Oh my God!
Outdoorsman sports is like a whole different world of sports medicine that we certainly have not gone down that rabbit hole.
And there's a whole nother host of issues, like you're in the middle of nowhere. What do you do now? And,
right.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
And just being able, preparedness for those things when you're in those situations, like. You got to MacGyver together splints or whatever the case is if you don't have stuff with you in that regard from a medical standpoint.
Trying to make it work.
Interesting to talk about.
Yeah. You ever do the Batona Trail here? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't. No.
So like it's sort of like a lesser known thing. Have you ever gone on the Batona? So in the Pineland National Forest, right? The Pinelands, which are here in South Jersey. Huge forest and a lot of sand. It's actually like stunningly beautiful. It's shocking.
Yeah,
when you're in there. I don't think people realize just how pretty it is. And there's something called the Batona Trail, which is the first 2 letters of back to nature of each word, Batona. And I think it's 56 miles, 50. I forget exactly how far. Not insignificant.
Yeah.
There are a few campsites along the way, and you could do overnight backpacking camp. And it's so I was late to the game. I wasn't like a Boy Scout. I didn't do any of that stuff, but my kids dig it. We'll do backpacking trips, and we had to kind of figure out what we were doing, like reading books and just kind of learning it. And it is a perfect, one, it's very beautiful. Mm-hmm. 2, you're never so far that you're really if you're in trouble or if you're hungry, you could probably order a pizza at some point or other. You're not so far out there.
You still have self-service.
Yeah. But you are. You're in the wood. As you're going along, you're I can't believe we're in Jersey, or I can't believe we're in the U.S. even, and it is very pretty. And I'm going to say you cross maybe I don't know, 5 or 6 main roads, and I could be completely wrong about that. I've hiked maybe 2/3 of it. I haven't hiked the whole thing.
That's pretty
and
cool.
a bunch of really cool things along the way.
Yeah.
And it's a great trail that's super local. Not a lot of up and down. It is New Jersey. It's fairly flat, very sandy, but a bunch of little undulations.
That's cool.
It's nice. It's
I
awesome.
did not know about that.
No,
When I move back
I
here,
just-
I'll do it.
53 and a half miles.
53 and a half.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah,
That's not
yeah.
bad.
It's really cool.
That's a 2-day.
It's well, it depends on who you're talking to. Right? Like for us, that's like a 4-day. But like for a lot of people, that's a 2-day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely didn't know that at all.
Yeah. It's awesome.
And it's like something like you don't just take for granted. It's like right in your backyard, essentially. Like it's
right there.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
Yeah.
So literally, that's what we'll do, and that's how we start. It's like 3-day weekend. Like let's go do the Batona Trail for a couple days. Like it's
That's pretty
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
That's super cool. I did not know about that.
Yeah. It's not the Adirondacks. It's not Oregon. It's not. Yeah. But it is pretty good.
But
It's
I think
local.
it's just like, I think to your point, Kyle, of like what your main goals as like our piece of nature, if you will, in New Jersey could be affected by what we're doing here. And you're going to showcase that in your documentary of like, how it does it. In Oregon is going to be the same effect because generally speaking, nature kind of responds the same way to human interaction for the most part. Like the things will kind of happen and these patterns do kind of reoccur once, humans infiltrate the area, if you will. So I think it'll be interesting to watch and see. And again, like for someone who learned two things tonight of like the Batona Trail or like when your documentary comes out of like the impact of what it does. And hopefully we get some more people on the Batona Trail just from this episode.
Just from talking about it, right?
And then once the documentary comes out, they're going to have the idea of what their effect is going to be while they're just doing that kind of deal.
Yeah.
So I think that's a pretty interesting take on the whole topic, if you will.
Yeah, I'm just excited to get it out there to everybody. Family, friends, people who don't even know who I am. Just being able to share that information and create awareness about it. I think it's a fun project to be a part of. It's a fun project to do for that many years, and the people that I've met, I'm grateful for, and the information that I've learned has been such a instrumental part of how I now view my own extracurricular activities. So it's really awesome.
I like that you put it that it's an unbiased view, right? Like to give sort of both sides of the issue. I'm actually like very curious about seeing it because like I love going out there. I love doing that stuff. Yeah. And actually you feel like really good about what you're doing and like I'm a little nervous. I don't want it to start to impede, like take away from some of the enjoyment of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because the whole point is to get outside and enjoy it and just understand what you're doing. It's just like leave no trace, right? Like don't
all about leave no trace.
Bring your trash back, right?
Exactly.
And that's the same thing. Just be aware of what you're doing and
pack it all out.
And then you can still enjoy exactly what you want.
Right. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Right. Yeah. I mean, anything else for the night? I think we touched on a little bit of everything. We had the man behind the scenes, if you will, come on camera.
Yeah. I'm excited. Well, before we go down the Sourfest road, I guess more information to come as it becomes a little more readily available in order to see it. I'm looking for it. I'm not going to make the Oregon premiere, but if there's a Philly one,
I'll send you the Philly
I'm
invites.
excited for that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The Philly one will be blasted on this podcast for sure, and we will definitely be in attendance.
Yeah.
That's without a doubt.
And then Sourfest.
Yes. We did got some early bird information for you folks out there that are local. May 16th is Sourfest here in Neck of the Woods. We've promoted it plenty of times. It's a great time.
It's a big event, man.
It's really big, and they figured out how to do it really big here. And, it's always a good time.
Yeah.
I've been 2-3 times now, I think.
Yeah.
I think the one time I skipped out because it was raining, but I heard it was like one of the
which is one of the ones that
one
I
of the
had
best
gone
ones
to.
that
It was great.
it had, right?
Yeah.
Like it was kind of not so great weather, but everyone still came out and supported, and it was actually a really good time.
Yeah. There's music, there's a ton of
food
beer,
trucks,
people hanging out. Yeah,
the whole parking lot's kind of coned off. There's tents, there's tables. You can bring your own chair, set up your own little camp somewhere.
Yeah. It's like being in Bend.
Yeah. Nice little concrete jungle back there, and with some great sour beer, so you can't go wrong in that regard.
Right.
So before we go ahead and close out our tab, just a thanks, Kyle, thank you for coming on. Thank you for being in the area. It just kind of worked out.
Yeah.
Glad that we could finally, formally meet.
I'm happy to.
It's unbelievable.
It's so funny
It is
that, I
unbelievable.
think it's one of those things that has come up in conversation briefly between the three of us, and then we kind of remind Dr. Frey that we've never met. Every time he's like astonished.
Like, how?
Like, how's that possible?
It's a
We've been
different
doing this
world.
for so long.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So before we go ahead and close out our tap tonight, just give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Neck of the Woods Brewing Company, giving us the best beer in South Jersey, and Timber Real Productions, and our guy Kyle, who's here tonight, is setting us up, producing all this stuff, because Dr. Frey and I wouldn't probably know what the hell we're doing without him. So thank you so much, and we'll see everyone next time. Stay safe.